And Paris is one of the most visited cities on earth. The Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, because the croissants, the romance, it is the city everyone has a picture of on their wall before they have ever been. Amsterdam is a 3-hour train ride away, and most people treat it as an afterthought. That is a mistake. I'm going head to head across 5 categories: landmarks, food, cost, museums, and vibe. 5 rounds. One answer, and the answer is Amsterdam. Here is the case. Round 1, landmarks and architecture. Paris wins this round. I am not going to pretend otherwise. Paris has the highest concentration of iconic landmarks of any city in the world, not Europe. The world. The Eiffel Tower is the most recognized structure on Earth, and seeing it in person for the first time still does something to people that no photograph prepares you for. The Louvre is the largest art museum in the world, housed in a former royal palace with a glass pyramid in the courtyard that has become iconic in its own right. Notre Dame, restored and reopened after the 2019 fire, is one of the great Gothic cathedrals in existence. Sacré-Cœur on the hill of Montmartre, the Arc de Triomphe at the top of the Champs-Élysées, the Musée d'Orsay in a converted railway station, the Palais Royal, the Opera Garnier, the building that inspired the Phantom of the Opera. Paris does not have a few landmarks. It has an entire city of them built across centuries of French imperial ambition and artistic genius. No city on earth has more to look at, and no city makes looking at things feel more rewarding. Amsterdam's architecture is beautiful, distinctive, and completely its own. The canal ring, the Grachtengordel, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. 17 canals, 90 islands, 1,500 bridges, and around 7,000 17th century merchant houses lining the water, narrow and tall because property tax was calculated on street frontage. Every house leans slightly forward because of this, giving the whole canal belt a gentle tilting quality that looks like the city is leaning in to tell you something. The Rijksmuseum building is magnificent. Central Station is one of the great railway terminals in Europe. The Westerkerk Tower, the Beginhof, a hidden medieval courtyard in the middle of the city that most visitors walk past without noticing. Amsterdam is a genuinely beautiful city, but Paris is in a different category of landmark density and global recognition. This round goes to Paris, and it is not close. Landmarks verdict, Paris wins. There is no version of this argument where Amsterdam's canal houses outweigh the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, and Notre Dame in the same city. Paris is the most visually iconic city on earth. Score, Paris 1, Amsterdam 0. Paris leads after round 1. It is going to lead again after round 2. And then Amsterdam wins 3 in a row. Round 2, food, Paris at its absolute best. The argument for Paris as the greatest food city in the world is not really an argument. It is just a fact that the rest of the world has been slowly accepting for 300 years. A croissant from a good Parisian boulangerie in the morning is a category-defining experience. The lamination, the butter, the shatter of the crust, it has been copied everywhere on earth and equaled nowhere. French onion soup, steak frites, duck confit, creme brulee soufflé, bouillabaisse from a proper bistro. Paris invented the restaurant as a concept in the 18th century and has been setting the standard ever since. The city has more Michelin-starred restaurants than any other city in Europe. Second, globally only to Tokyo, and has held that position for decades. It also has neighborhood bistros where a 3-course lunch with wine costs 15 euros and is better than most fine dining elsewhere. Yeah, the quality floor in Paris is higher than almost any city in Europe, and the markets, the Marché d'Allegret, the Marché des Enfants Rouges, cheese, charcuterie, wine, bread, and pastries, at a level of quality that makes grocery shopping feel like an event. Amsterdam's food scene is genuinely good and consistently underrated. Dutch cuisine does not have the global reputation of French cuisine, but Amsterdam has evolved into one of the most interesting food cities in Northern Europe. Indonesian food, a legacy of the colonial relationship between the Netherlands and Indonesia, is exceptional here and unlike anything you find in the rest of Western Europe. Rijsttafel, a spread of 15 to 20 small Indonesian dishes served together, is one of the great communal eating experiences in Europe. The Dutch breakfast culture of fresh bread, aged Gouda, and cold cuts is simple and satisfying. Stroopwafels fresh off the griddle at a market market stall. Herring, raw herring, eaten at a street stand, held by the tail and dropped into the mouth. It is an acquired taste. It is very Amsterdam. The canal side restaurant scene in the Jordan neighborhood and De Pipe is warm, creative, and far less formal than Paris. But Amsterdam is not competing with Paris on food. Nobody is. Food verdict, Paris wins, and it is not close. Paris is the greatest food city in the world. Amsterdam has excellent food. These are not comparable statements. Score, Paris 2, Amsterdam 0. Paris leads 2-0. Before round 3, if you want a new city comparison every week, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Takes 2 seconds. You can do it now while Amsterdam makes its comeback. And now the comparison turns. Round 3 is where Amsterdam starts making up ground, and it does not stop until the final score. Round 3, cost. Paris has been one of the most expensive cities in Europe for decades and shows no sign of changing. Paris is expensive in a way that surprises even experienced travelers. A coffee at a cafe terrace, 4 to 6 euros. A glass of wine at a bar near the Marais, 10 to 14 euros. A mid-range meal at a bistro in a tourist area, 30 to 50 euros per person without difficulty. A croissant at a boulangerie near the Eiffel Tower, 3 euros 50. The same croissant 3 streets away from the tourist zone, 1 euro 20. Mid-range hotels in central Paris start at 160 to 200 euros a night. Budget travelers need $100 to $120 a day to have a comfortable experience. Mid-range sits at 250 or more. Paris rewards people who know where to go and punishes everyone else. Amsterdam is not cheap, but it is noticeably cheaper than Paris across almost every category. A coffee at a canal-side cafe, 3 to 4 euros. A beer at a brown cafe, the traditional Dutch pub, 3 to 4 euros. A mid-range meal in the Jordan, 20 to 30 euros per person. Mid-range hotels in central Amsterdam run 90 to 130 euros a night. Budget travelers can manage on $70 to $85 a day. Mid-range at 140 to 170 feels comfortable. The gap with Paris is consistent across accommodation, food, drink, and transport. Amsterdam is not a bargain destination, but compared to Paris, it feels like one. Cost verdict, Amsterdam wins. The difference is real across every category and adds up significantly over a week. Same quality of trip, meaningfully less money. Score, Paris 2, Amsterdam 1. 2-1 Paris. One round separates them. Round 4 is museums, and this is where the comparison becomes genuinely surprising. Round 4, museums and culture. And Amsterdam takes this in a way I did not expect when I started looking at the numbers. Paris has more world-class museums than almost any city on earth. The Louvre is the largest art museum in the world. The permanent collection contains over 35,000 works on display across 15 kilometers of gallery space. The Mona Lisa, Venus de Milo, Winged Victory of Samothrace. You could spend a week in the Louvre and still feel like you missed most of it. The Musée d'Orsay has the greatest collection of Impressionist art in the world. Monet, Renoir, Degas, Van Gogh, Cézanne, all in one building. The Centre Pompidou for modern and contemporary art, the Rodin Museum, the Picasso Museum. The scale and depth of Paris's cultural offering is unmatched. The problem is exactly that, the scale. The Louvre in peak season is an exercise in crowd management. The Mona Lisa, in particular, is experienced at a distance behind barriers surrounded by hundreds of other people holding phones above their heads. The art is there. The experience of it is complicated. Amsterdam has fewer museums than Paris. The ones it has are among the best in the world, and the experience of visiting them is entirely different. The Rijksmuseum contains the greatest collection of Dutch Golden Age painting in existence. Vermeer's The Milkmaid, Rembrandt's The Night Watch, displayed in its own gallery, large as a wall, lit to show every brush stroke. You stand in front of it with room to breathe. The Van Gogh Museum holds more than 200 of Van Gogh's paintings and 500 drawings, the largest collection in the world. The progression through his work from the dark Dutch period to the electric colors of Arles is one of the great museum experiences in Europe. Book in advance. It sells out weeks ahead. The Anne Frank house. Walking through the hidden annex where Anne Frank and her family hid for 2 years is not a museum visit. It is something else entirely. There is nothing like it anywhere in the world. Amsterdam's museums are more concentrated, more manageable, and for most visitors, more emotionally affecting than the equivalent time spent in the Louvre. The round goes to Amsterdam. Museum's verdict, Amsterdam wins. Not on volume, but on experience. The Rijksmuseum, the Van Gogh Museum, and the Anne Frank house in 2 days is one of the great museum itineraries in Europe. Score Paris 2, Amsterdam 2. 2-all, everything on round 5. And this is the round Amsterdam was always going to win. Round 5, vibe. The round that decides it. Paris at its best is the most romantic city in the world. Evening on the scene, a bottle of wine on the steps of Sacré-Cœur, dinner in a candlelit bistro in Saint-Germain. The city does atmosphere better than anywhere on earth when it wants to. The neighborhoods reward exploration. Le Marais has galleries, vintage shops, and the best falafel in Europe. Montmartre has the painters and the views. Canal Saint-Martin has a younger, more local energy. Shakespeare and Company Bookshop on the left bank is a pilgrimage for anyone who has ever loved reading. The downside is real. Paris is a demanding city. The metro is aging and overcrowded. The service culture at tourist area restaurants can be cold. The crowds around the major landmarks in peak season are genuinely exhausting. And Paris requires effort. It does not give itself to you easily. Amsterdam gives itself to you on day one. The city is built for people, not cars. Cycling is not an activity in Amsterdam. It is the primary mode of transport for everyone at all times, in all weather. The canal ring is 15 minutes wide on foot. Almost everything worth seeing is within walking or cycling distance of everything else. The brown cafes, the eat cafes serving stamp pot and Genever in the evening, the weekend markets at Waterlooplein and the Albert Kuip, the Vondelpark on a summer Sunday when half the city is outside, the Jordan neighborhood where 17th century canal houses contain independent bookshops, wine bars, and flower stalls. Amsterdam is one of the most livable cities in Europe, and that livability is exactly what makes it so enjoyable to visit. It does not perform for tourists. It simply is what it is, and what it is happens to be extraordinary. Paris is the city of your dreams. Amsterdam is the city you want to live in. 5 verdict. Amsterdam wins. It is warmer, more accessible, more human-scaled, and easier to feel at home in than Paris. Paris is the more magnificent city. Amsterdam is the more enjoyable one. Score, Paris 2, Amsterdam 3. Final score, Amsterdam 3, Paris 2. And I want to say clearly, Paris is one of the greatest cities ever built. Losing this comparison does not diminish it. If you have never been to Paris, go. The Eiffel Tower at night, the Louvre on a quiet Tuesday morning, a proper French bistro lunch. These are experiences that belong on every traveler's list. Choose Paris if this is your first time in Europe and you want the most iconic introduction possible. Art, architecture, and food at the absolute highest level are your priorities. Romance is the point of the trip. You have done Amsterdam and want to graduate to something more demanding and more rewarding. Choose Amsterdam if you want a city that is beautiful, manageable, and genuinely enjoyable to navigate. The Van Gogh Museum and the Anne Frank house are on your list. You want to cycle along canals, eat Indonesian food, and drink in a brown cafe without spending a fortune. You want to feel at home in a city within 24 hours of arriving. Paris is the dream. Amsterdam is the trip. Which city are you booking? Drop it in the comments and subscribe for a new city comparison every single week. If this helped you decide, hit subscribe. New travel comparisons and city guides every week. Drop a comment, Paris or Amsterdam. Where are you going first? And if Amsterdam won you over, everything you need to plan the trip is linked in the description. See you in the next one.